I grew up on a small family farm, yeah, about 3 acres, and it was sort of like a family compound because my grandparents had like the house above, and then they sold that, and they owned the land like all around. Um, so like growing up, it was like my grandmother and grandfather lived down the road, and my brother had a house, and it was a long dirt road, it was a private road. So like we didn't get any trick-or-treaters because they were always like too scared to go down the road because it was kind of freaky.
Leo
um
doesn't like sharing his candy,
no,
anyways.
yeah.
What the fuck? He's gonna kill you
uh
all.
Actually, there was a pretty funny story, totally off topic, but talking about the farmhouse. So my mother had this statue of this uh, a native warrior in front of the house. It was really cool, but somebody knocked its head off. And like I essentially lived in the woods. It was either playing video games or roaming around in the woods. And I found this cow skull. And when you're a young kid, yeah, you bring it to school, you scare all the other kids with it. But I ended up putting it on the native warrior. So it was like this native warrior with like a cow skull. And my dad like used to really enjoy talking to Jehovah's Witness when they would come by. But one day I see them drive up, and they see the the native with the cow skull. They just back up, drive away, never saw him again. But it was great. We had cows and chickens, and my dad used to butcher turkeys, and um, but yeah, it was just a small family farm. Um, Fast forward many years, I move out, and had some uh had a very difficult part of my life, and like I won't go fully into it, but essentially, I was living in Florida for a little bit, and that's when my first wife passed away, and I decided to come back home. And I was essentially homeless for a little bit, so I stayed in the old family farm. And while I was there, one day I started hearing a noise in the background, or in the back room, and like a crashing. And I go into the back room, and I see these two large black snakes mating. And my mother had a bunch of like collectibles
Let's get
back
it
there in
on.
glass. Yeah, they were thrashing and destroying all.
Ooh, baby.
They were destroying everything. So yeah, it was. I realized we had a snake issue. And there was one day where I kept on hearing noise under the washing machine, and I see the snake tail go under, and I move the washing machine, and there's a big hole in the floor. Um, and so the snake was like halfway in. And then I look, there's another snake by the boiler in front of me. And then I hear a movement above of me. And I look up, there was a snake in the rafters above me. So I was like surrounded by snakes. Turned out the house was infested with snakes. Um, and so I had to try to dispatch of them. And that's where the,
Ba-ba-da.
trying to figure out the best way to do so. So I found my dad,
Fuck.
my dad's axe, and yeah, I started using an axe to dispatch of the snakes. The one problem is during the summer there it's hotter, so they move faster. So if you go back to the first snake you shown, so this one was moving really fast, and it was crawling up the wall. So I had to try to use one axe to pull it off the wall, and the other axe to try to dispatch it. he got back up into the rafters, and that's where I kind of dispatched him there. But yeah, I was killing about a dozen snakes this summer. There was one time where there was one crawling up the house. I pulled it off and dispatched of it, and we had somebody that was going to work on the siding of the house, and I didn't tell him about the snake I killed. And by the way, these are all rather large snakes. All of them are about 6 feet in length. Yeah, they were rather large snakes.
These are black rat snakes, right?
Yep. Yep. So I dispatched of one, left it where it was, and apparently the guy working on the siding was on the ladder when he saw it and fell off. Kind of scared the crap out of him. Yeah, there was something else with the snakes too. Actually, growing up, my mother tells a story of we had an infestation of copperheads. Not in the house, but my dad found a nest in the field. And my mother tells a story where my dad took a can of gas. It might have been 2 cans of gas, poured it into the snake nest and lit it on fire. And I was told that snakes were coming out like writhing on fire, just coming out of the ground on fire. It just was insane.
And for a tasty treat.
Yeah. But since then, we haven't had, copperheads, the occasional copperhead you'd find, but it's all been,
They
black.
probably tell stories about that house.
Oh yeah, they do. Just been black rat snakes and racers. Racers though are friggin' scary. I remember I had a little goat cart and running over one, and just seeing it thrashing in the grass behind me, and then racers will chase you. It's you don't mess with them.